San Diego State and Imperial Valley campus combined as per our census for fall 24, now have 36% of our entire student body identify as Hispanic or Latino. Next slide, please. While this is the core and basic definition of being a Hispanic serving institution, we really want to call attention to what has become a growing body of literature, a growing body of campus defining for themselves what it truly means beyond the federal designation to be a Hispanic serving institution, with a real emphasis on the serving part of the concept. This approach really builds on a lot of work that started as early as the 80s and before, from scholars like Silvia Hurtado, but more prevalent in today's conversations around being HSIs from the scholar Gina Garcia. And really the work, although there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about here, comes down to striving to be an institution that provides a place where Latinx students can feel, and faculty and staff can feel, linguistically, culturally, and racially connected to their peers, faculty, and administrators. Conceptually, that's the approach between servingness, the concept of servingness, and honoring our designation as a Hispanic serving institution. Next slide. So for us, especially the Office of HSI Affairs, that means that a lot of that work is actually centered on a few things. What I want to call attention to, and what's under my purview as a Office of HSI Affairs, is really the shared governance and accountability pieces to that endeavor. We start with the 2018-2019 presidentially commissioned HSI Task Force and its resulting report and recommendations. One of the very strong recommendations that was put in that report was to establish a standing committee in perpetuity that would continue to assess and make recommendations on the HSI endeavor. We've realized that recommendation in the form of our current HSI Campus Advisory Committee. In addition, we have made an effort to institutionalize the student voice in this process with the establishment of our HSI Student Advisory Board. So those are some of the ways in which we really try to hold ourselves accountable and to move the agenda forward. Next slide, please. So I want to share a little bit of our metrics with you all today to put this into context. Of course, as I mentioned before, it was the spring of 2012 when SDSU was federally designated as a Hispanic serving institution. And it's very important to note that SDSU Imperial Valley campus earned its own designation as an HSI in 2004, well ahead of the 2012 mark for SDSU as a entire institute. Where we stand now, we've seen a lot of growth in representation. Latinx students currently make up 36% of all students at SDSU. The Latinx faculty have increased from 11% in 2021 to 18% of all faculty at SDSU in 2024, and we make up 13.6% of all tenure track faculty. Staff, of course, make up 36.3% at SDSU, and administrators have sort of bumped up and down over the last few years, but are currently at 20% of all admin. I want to call attention to this category just for clarification. That includes anyone in the non-classified roles, from AVPs down to directors, anyone in the MPP role at SDSU. For reference and proportionality, San Diego County is at around or approximately 33% Hispanic Latinx. Next slide, please. When we brought this to SEC, there was a request for a little bit more of a breakdown of some of those faculty numbers. And so I provided head counts here for your review. This is the last 4 years in terms of tenure track Hispanic faculty broken down by rank. You can just tell from the charts that the largest growth, of course, as it makes sense, is in the assistant professor rank. But we have seen growth in each of the other ranks as well over the years. Next slide. We've also broken this down in terms of head counts by college, We list 2 years so that you can see growth from 2020 to 2023. Clearly, some of the colleges have experienced much larger proportionality growth in their colleges. Some started out relatively high, but caveat when looking at this data, we have to keep in mind what the total number of tenure track, I'm sorry, not just tenure track of faculty are in those colleges to begin with. But it is information that we thought might be helpful in understanding the context here, and we can provide more detailed breakdowns if you choose, if you just write to hsiaffairs at sdsu.edu. Now, all of this is to provide context in terms of where we're going, and the metric that we typically associate with progress along the HSI endeavor. We have much more detailed information that would take us too long for an information item at a Senate meeting, but there's one really good place where we hold that information. Our Office of HSI Affairs, on behalf of the institution, issues an annual HSI report. There's a QR code that you can use to take a look at that. We've got 3 years running of that annual report, and you can see a lot of the details along different domains for the HSI endeavor. And now I'd like to switch over to talking about really the focus of the presentation, which is how the LRC in particular provides direct support to our students, in helping them to feel like they belong and they are at a welcoming and affirming institution, and true HSI. Dr. Lara?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ulloa. So hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. And so like Dr. Yu mentioned, I'm here to provide an overview as to what the progress has been at the Latinx Resource Center and what have we been looking to do in the last year to continue to improve and really to look at to the Latinx serving goal. Here I provide this timeline just to give you a sense of how many individuals, how much growth we have accomplished over the last 4 years. And while the center was established in 2020 by student organizations and with the support and allyship of the Chicano Studies Department and Latin American Studies Department and Student Affairs and Campus Diversity, the conversation about having a space dedicated to the Latino, Hispanic, Chicano community has been happening for decades. I came here in 2006, and I remember back then there was conversations about having a space like this for our community. And I'm sure that those who have been here that are connected with the community perhaps can recall some of their conversations prior to that. So this kind of gives you overview of the key highlights and accomplishments that we have accomplished, like I said, over the last 4 years. But there's a legacy behind the LRC that is good to mention before moving forward. So what I have here is to give you a framework or a map, if you will. We focus from our core, everything we do is around the feminismo aspects, and that is rooted in community cultural wealth model from Yoso's 2005 theory to also ensuring that our students are progressing and also healing through emotional justice. And one of the things that we aim to do is through our five focus areas that we achieve that. So we address academic success through programming, through our academic efforts. We do educational outreach and programming around identity exploration, social justice, racial justice, community engagement, and mental health and wellness. All of this is to look at our center core of the feminismo aspect to empower our students from our community strengths and individual heritage and culture to uplift not only for them to succeed in their classroom, but in and out and achieve social mobility. So if the previous slide was more about theory or framework, how do we do this? This is more about practice, right? So if you had a chance to visit our space, I always say that the challenge at times is finding us because we're in the first floor of the library right next to the Chicano collections area. And if you come in, we have a front desk operations staff that is staffed by our undergrads. And graduate students, we have a total staff of 7 undergrads and 3 graduate students that focus on different operations here at the front at the center. And then we have our center programs that are all for all individuals, all everybody on campus that again focuses on those 5 elements that I mentioned before. And then the last component that we focus on our services is our academic component, which focuses on peer mentoring, peer leadership. We have a first year seminar course that is composed of 2 sections. One of them is for our first year students, and one of them is for our commuter students. And we also have a coordinated care advising through one of our staff here, and this all is the staff here. So all of this is cohort based, and everything is center for our students to do 3 things. And if you look at our student success factors or laboratory outcomes or non-cognitive factors, there's been different iterations of this. Is our goal is that from the moment students step into our center to if they're involved in a seminar course, that they do 3 things. We increase their sense of belonging, their self-efficacy levels, and also increase in intrinsic and academic and educational levels. Because when we see that they were to progress and succeed in their academics, but also in and out of the classroom as well. This is information to give you some metrics as to our growth over the last year. This is our 2023-2024 utilization from what our students are, who's coming to our space, who's using our facilities. I can provide this additionally if you want to look at it more in depth, but one of the big things to take away, if you look at the proportionality as to who we're serving and our 5 majors that are coming in, these are the ones we see the most often. Psychology, students who are in psychology, business administration, particularly in finance, computer science, kinesiology, and criminal justice. So that gives you proportionality of who's coming in here versus the makeup of the entire campus. And then if the other aspect is more about the data in terms of who's coming in, this is more of the evidence of impact. So this is how we measure to ensure that our students are achieving success. And we also able to tell our story through different data points. So this one, if you can see that students who participated in our identity exploration programming, we can see their levels increase in those 3 elements that I mentioned. And then we also have the qualitative narrative perspective from those who are participating in our USEM classes to our peer mentorship component. And lastly, I'll leave you with this, right? So while we have made a lot of strides and we have campus partners and faculty support and student leaders, the needs continue to grow. And as Dr. Ulloa mentioned, we're continuing to see our student population grow with Latinx students. And what I really wanted to point out in this slide is that when the center started, it started as a small resource, right? But as we continue to see how we are addressing academic services, cultural programming, instruction, peer mentoring, career development, and on and on and on, our resources are thinning out as we continue to grow. And so this is where we ask your allyship, your champions for external funds. I know in the past we work with faculty on grants or with nonprofit leaders to really help our community grow and also help our individual students who come into our center to not only achieve success in their classroom, but also personally and also beyond SDSU.
Yeah, and I'll also add that, with the demographics of the nation and our state in particular, with Latinos and Hispanics being one of the only growth groups, in the educational pipeline, it's important to remind ourselves that we have an obligation to serve our students with intentionality, and we are very grateful for the attention and the support that the campus has given us around really trying to honor that designation as a true Hispanic serving institution. Thank you all.
Thank you both for your comprehensive report. I'm going to request that senators please contact you directly with any questions or comments they have, because our agenda is really tight and we're over time right now. We now have a time certain report from our interim provost, Tom. Please go ahead. Oh, you're going to need the mic.
Thank you. While I have Emilio's photo on the screen, let me just thank him for last week accompanying me to go to Washington, D.C. to collect the Seal of Excellencia. We are recertified for 3 more years. Thank you, Honorable, and the whole team for working on this all year. Let me start with enrollment management. Um, so, this is the enrolled student, both residents and non-residents. If you look at it, we're moving up a little bit this year, about 1% higher than last year, and then also another 1%, 1.1 or 1.05 higher than the previous year. So the last 3 years we've been going up about 1%, okay, each year. Both in terms of mostly resident students. And as you know, the Chancellor's office give us a target, and we try to meet that target and exceed it a little bit, but not by much, not a lot. All right, but we don't want to miss the target. So that's that we're dialing it down to within 1%. Next. So some of you may know that originally we have a target, and then in late July, Chancellor's office asked us to see if we can add some more FTES, and we tried our best, but it was really late, especially in a year where we have lots of FAFSA issues, right? A lot of universities were still admitting students in July or even August, like UCs were still adding students, even in August. But we hit the we're going to hit the target, and we'll be fine, and including the additional FTES. Next slide. So these are the college breakdowns for the individual colleges, and they all hit their targets we have, and all came very close to it. Next one. So this is the first year enroll, and as you can see, we're a little higher than last year, but about the same as 2 years ago. And this is fall to fall comparison. This is the first year students. And next slide. And this is the transfer numbers. Now, we are lower intentionally for this year because we have a lot of students already, and we're trying to balance out, listening to colleges and which ones have the capacity and to take students, and we're not as high as last year, but we're about the same or a little higher than 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Next one. So graduate students, and as you probably remember, last year graduate students number were really low because we were so late with my SDSU and PeopleSoft issues, right? So we were way down, and we came up with all kinds of solutions this year. So we're back up to about the same as 2 years ago, and there are some issues still remaining we need to resolve in terms of my SDSU, but I think we have resolved most of the issues. So we're back to the level we wanted the graduate levels to be, graduate student numbers to be. Next one. Imperial Valley, as you know, we've been giving them a lot of resources both in terms of new degree programs, nursing being one of them. Also, environmental health. We hire four new tenure track professors there already. Right. So we're trying to build new degree programs, and so we expect their numbers to go up, hopefully, in the next few years. And also, we have the STEM, the new STEM building is moving along, and the architects, they promised it will be done by August 2025. So we will have new degrees related to STEM and Lithium Valley. So we hope these numbers will go up. And for the first time, they will have actual labs, actual wet labs, science labs, right? And so the labs are, right now, for our nursing students, we don't have our own labs, so we're borrowing wet labs from community colleges and other folks. So within a year, we will have our own lab for nursing majors and all kinds of majors. Okay, next one. So our year one retention rates improving, as you can see, both for transfer and for first year students. And I think that's it for me for this topic. Do you want me to go to the other topic or pause here?
I think it would be wise for you, because of time, go ahead with the rest
Okay.
of your report. I know there is one hand raised.
All right. The other topic I want to report is the tenure track search is going this year. As I mentioned last time, we have 51 tenure track searches going on this year, and some of them are new areas, clusters, and we have different search committees going on for a couple of cluster hires, and things are moving along. I will have more to update as the searches progressing next time.
Thank you. Okay, two hands. Senator Shomay, you're recognized. Well, actually, now there are four hands.
Just a quick question or clarification question. In the Imperial Valley, there is one one student population that's called continuing and transitory students, and I don't quite know the term transitory students. So could we get to know who those are?
Yeah, we can, let's see, is Gina here?
I mean, I know transfer students, but I don't know transitory students. That's why I'm just wondering, but that's okay. We can
find out.
follow up on that
We
later.
we are also, we have both freshmen and transfer students, right? Especially take for example, the new degrees we're starting. We have half and half roughly, right? Freshmen and transfer, like especially for nursing, and that way we can balance things out, and
Yeah.
we will do the same thing with the new degrees, and maybe 10 plus 10, 20 plus 20, that kind of split, right?
Right. Okay. I see that Stefan Hyman just put something in the chat, so that's clear then. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Valjean, you're recognized.
Yeah, so maybe can I
Wait a
try
minute,
to
you
do
gotta
So I remember a while ago, 2007, 2008, suddenly halfway the year in January, they said, okay, which department didn't hire yet does not get a position. And so I know some people are a little afraid of that. And I know you cannot look forward, but do you think there are any chances that would happen after just the January report from the governor?
Are you thinking about carrying forward the lines that if you're not successful, or what are you?
Halfway the year, it was like February 1st, did you make the offer or not? When you didn't, the offer did not go out, the offer would not go out.
Oh, no, we've been allowing that to go on until April now, April and May, so you should be able to finish it. Yeah, all the lines in previous years, those who didn't finish, they decided they want to postpone, not because they ran out of time. Yeah, so they decided in January, February, whenever they want to try a new year.
Thank you. Senator Schellenberg, you recognize?
I heard you mention the word cluster. That's all that higher, just to be clear. I wasn't aware of the cluster. Can you talk a little bit about what that process is and how that's?
So as you may remember, we had a cybersecurity cluster, right, in the past. We hired a director, and so this is open, right? We will go out and look for the best candidate, and whichever department that candidate may land will land, right? So that's a multi-department, multiple colleges involved in the search. So that's one. And we also have this year a cluster hire for another cybersecurity area, and AI is the other one. And we also have ongoing searches for border studies that we started last year. So these are, again, multiple colleges and multiple departments involved. Yeah.
So when you say cluster, you mean making it in multiple departments. You're not hiring multiple people in here.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Chair Locke, you recognize?
Yes, thank you so much. At the Senate executive meeting, Vice Provost Pruitt-Lord shared when giving this report the number of faculty separations so that we could get a complete picture of our net gain of new faculty lines this year. But I don't have my notes from that meeting. Can you share that information here?
Yes, she's right here. So let me.
Yeah, so in 24-25, we had 53 new hires with a total of 33 separations for a net gain of 20 hires. And then in addition, we'll have for this cycle, the plan new of the 51 hires. I believe that's what I shared, Pam. Is that?
Oh yeah, thanks. I was asking if you could put those numbers in the chat.
I don't have my Zoom on, but I will get that going.
Thank you.
So please, it might be easier if you come forward. Thank you.
So good afternoon, nice to see everybody. I know it's hybrid, so I think my back is, where's the camera?
Yeah, you might want to sit down.
I like the, it's right here, okay, good. Want to sit here? So we're here to talk about campus safety. And there is several pre-submitted questions that was gonna frame our conversation. But before we jump into those specific questions, there is a QR code there. And that QR code was prepared for easy access to all of our current safety programs and initiatives. Everything from the red and black shuttle to active shooter training to a variety of other quick information that you as faculty and staff might need immediate access to. It's a better way to show the umbrella of all of the programs and information instead of me going over them point by point. So as it relates to campus safety, please take the time to look at that QR code and everything that is offered there. As you've heard me say before, and for those of you that don't know me, my name is Josh Mays. I'm the Associate Vice President of Safety. Chief Murphy with UPD is here with me. Jessica Rento is on the Zoom. And Amanda Stills is University Police PIO, or Public Information Officer. So with that, we frame all of our work through the city of San Diego State. That is that the complexities that exist in any other city or town exist here at the city of San Diego State. And we have to be prepared and collaborative and partner with everybody in this room and on the Zoom. So we appreciate the opportunity to continue the conversations related to safety, taking the time to look at the QR code, share that information with your constituents that help us partner and really underscore that safety is a shared responsibility. With that, one of the pre-submitted questions was, why are individual departments or colleges responsible for paying for things such as changing locks or making doors more secure? I don't know if the person who submitted that question is live in the audience. Okay. Did that capture the question before I provide the answer? Sure. So that is a question that we receive often because there's a variety of different safety issues that might be related to infrastructure. So about 3 years ago, we created, and the website and link is in the QR code, for the Safety and Security Infrastructure Committee. That committee was created and funded partially through PBAC. And so those funds address exactly the concerns that I think were probably the catalyst to your question. So there's pretty much two answers. One, basic safety related maintenance. The door lock doesn't work, a door doesn't shut, a light is out. That you can go on the work control website. That costs the department no money, and submit a work control order, and facility services prioritizes that because it's under the safety umbrella related to a door that's not shutting properly or locks that are broken, and facility services will immediately address that. There's longer term issues, which some of you, I can recognize some faces and know that we've partnered on some longer term projects that cost more money. And so that might be, I've been in this office for X amount of years and they routinely have a problem, A, B, and C, whatever that problem is. And I would feel better if we were able to shut that exit and add an additional door. Or what about the panic alarms that I know my colleagues have in another office? Or I want a CCTV camera, would feel better if it was in this space. Those types of additional features do cost more money. And the reason that we created the SASIAC committee, funded in part by PBAC, is we can use those funds to address those project needs. But there's a process in which those projects get addressed, which is on the QR code, the Safety and Infrastructure Safety Committee. If you go to that website, it outlines the steps. It looks like it's a lot, but it's really not. It's just submitting an online form. One of Chief's crime prevention specialists, Mark Peterson, will come out, survey the space, get a better understanding from you what your concerns are. He will then do a SEPTED assessment, the crime prevention through environmental design. That looks at infrastructure, lighting, landscaping, access control, a variety of other options. He will make recommendations. Those recommendations will be adopted. So if Dr. Curtis was the one submitting it, Mark would work with her directly. He would submit the SEPTED report, give it to Dr. Curtis, who would work with her department, college, or area. And we would ask that the college or department fund 50% of that, while PBAC funds the other 50%. Sometimes there is a little bit more leeway there where we might fund more out of the PBAC fund, or we might fund 100% of it, depending on what the ask is. But that committee is represented for a variety of disciplines across campus. There's limited funds. When projects come in, the committee reviews them, they're voted on. The vast majority of them are funded because we have money to cover that. So that provides kind of what is immediate to you, going on the work control website, lock not working, door not shutting, light not working. Please go on, it's a couple of clicks, submit the work order, facility services will prioritize that. If it's something larger outside of that scope related to the SEPTED or SASIAC, please fill out that form online. It outlines what the process is. I'll work with you directly. Chief's team will work with you directly. I'll walk you through that. You can reach out to me and we can go through those steps. But that's how we're addressing the first question. Does that answer the original? Okay. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief for two other pre-submitted questions related to, has there been any kind of audit or review of the record keeping of UPD? And what steps are being taken to communicate security and safety issues among the various departments and groups on campus? So Chief.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And I hope I'm facing the right direction.
You are. You want my seat?
Yes, to the question, has there been any kind of audit or review of the record keeping of the campus police? And we have several external and internal points of audit for the police department, and I'll list off a few of them and talk very briefly about them. We have the federal and state audits, which includes the CLEPS, or the California Law Enforcement Telecommunications Systems Audit. We do internal department audits. So for example, upon arrival, we ordered an independent audit of property and evidence that we collect and maintain. There's the Chancellor's Office audits that we undergo. There's Clery. You've heard of the Clery Act, probably by way of communication during timely warnings and such. So we have the Clery audits. We have the California Commission on Post Audit, which takes place every 2 years. And what POST stands for is Peace Officer Selection and Training Standards. And so every individual that we hire, there's a very prescribed background and hiring process that we are obligated to meet. The state sends an auditor, in essence, to come and audit every person that we hire. That includes peace officers and public safety dispatchers. They also, at the same time, audit the training records because we're under mandate to complete certain training, both legislatively driven as well as locally driven for training purposes. And they audit that to make sure that we're hitting the minimum training pieces, which are 24 hours in every 2 years, but then also satisfying the legislative mandates. And there's a piece where they talk about perishable skills program training for skill sets that have been deemed to fade over time if you're not constantly training. So we undergo that. We also assigned a lieutenant to oversee the review, update of all of our policies in conjunction with our CSU system-wide policy revised. And that mates up very well with a new initiative that we're undertaking. It's called the IACLEA, the International Association of College Law Enforcement Administrators. And they are an international body that purports to hold agencies to the best practices in policing. There are 215 independent standards by which we will be measured. And so we are now in that process for the accreditation. And we have an outlook of that of about 2 years. And we're probably the 6th campus in our system to seek that type of audit. So those are a few of the audits that we undergo on a regular basis. The state also audits us, for example, each year for use of force reports. So we also provide that audit. The next question that we have is, what steps are being taken to communicate security and safety issues among the various departments and groups on campus? So, you know, we try every method that we can, and some of those include the fall and spring safety messages that I have the great honor of doing with our AS president each year, and we run that video out. We partnership with the provost and the vice provost offices. We rely a lot on our partnerships around campus to get safety messages out, either broadly to groups or even to the individual level. As AVP May mentioned, our crime prevention programs headed up by Corporal Mark Peterson, who I know is no stranger to many people in the room. He gets out and he'll do you know, very specific training with groups and departments to talk very specifically about the office spaces in which they work and how to best manage those from a safety perspective. And then I alluded to it earlier, the timely warnings, which are part of the Jean Cleary Act, also in conjunction with community notifications, all in an effort to put out information that is relevant and important for members of our community to be informed with, to manage safety on an independent level. And I have a note here for some of the augmented safety efforts that we have, and this ties in with the previous question. You know, we have our CSO program, which are student workers, and it's an extremely valuable program. It's an extension of the police department effort by way of eyes and ears. They can provide safety walk escorts. They were recently doing the Safe Ride program. We also have this semester the campus safety specialist. You may have seen them around campus. They wear the bright yellow jackets and they're on bicycles. They've been a tremendous assistance to us as we try to implement the Red ID program in many of the buildings across campus. And they're in essence a CSU security guard. And the value there is when we get security guards that we contract out, that's fine, and I understand the role that they play. But as your chief of police, I know nothing about their background. I know nothing about their psychological makeup because that's a part of a police officer background. And I feel much more comfortable with the CSU employees guards performing those roles because we do have that background piece associated with it. So there's a greater degree of confidence in sending them out into the community from my perspective. And then, like I said, we do have the contract, which plays a vital, significant role. We had tons of events on this campus and at this university, so it would be impossible to necessarily do what we do without them. We have a crime analyst who actually came from the Law Enforcement Coordination Center, or we refer to it as the LECC. She's very tied into the intel world here in the region, so that really puts us in a good position to have intel on events that may jeopardize our safety. And the analyst is constantly working with what's going on now in the world, with the elections coming up, so we are connected regionally to the intel that happens in the county and greater region. And the last point I'll make is our behavioral health unit to address some of the mental health issues that come on our campus or that we experience on campus, as well as an empathetic approach to some of the unsheltered occurrences that we have on campus. So those are the points. I hope it was meaningful in addressing the questions that were asked. And as always, I'm always happy to take questions.
And there are a couple of questions, but I see them on Zoom. So Senator Shomay, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just have one question. The other day, I had to go see the provost for a reason, and I was really shocked that that whole building is locked up entirely. You have to actually call in from the front door to come and somebody to open the door. Could you let us know what that is about? I mean, and so, yeah, just what's happening? Thank you.
So, I mean, I'll give you my response to it, and then either AVP Mays or the provost can respond to it. But during the demonstrations that we were seeing in the prior semester, there were concerns about iconic buildings and buildings such as the Manchester. The request came in, and it was, you know, certainly I recommended during those times that that building would be locked for the individuals who work there to prevent a potential, what do you call it, occupation. in the building at that time. And then, and I think just for the continued safety, that has been the remaining profile to date.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Vice Chair Day.
Yes, thank you, Chair Butterworth. Forgive me if this has been addressed already, at least in part. I was in between two hats here for a moment. This may be more for AVP Mays. Just recently, Chair Henschel brought to our attention that that a ceiling tile fell and hit a student recently. And there's been, I've heard of other instances. Unfortunately, the student was kind of a good sport about it, but that could have been, you know, a lawsuit. Seriously, a liability. Has there been any move by SIAC or any other entities to address those type of infrastructure issues?
So that falls outside of the Safety and Security Infrastructure Committee that looks at additional layers of security, blue light, duress phones, panic alarms, those types of things. And that is outside the area that I oversee. However, I do know that deferred maintenance is an issue across campus, and buildings are prioritized based on need. When incidents like that unfortunately do occur, they're immediately addressed and try to look at the broader picture to see what other prioritization might have to happen within that building to repair that. But we do recognize the need across campus. The campus is complex, large, and diverse as ours, with ongoing challenges from budgets with the state. We have to do our best to try to manage and prioritize those things as they come up. As you said, luckily, the student was not injured. But I know that is a priority for facilities.
Okay, before we proceed further, it's 4:21. Our meeting is officially scheduled to end at 4:30. I see one more hand raised, and we also have some additional business, which is the resolution and also our information items. And so I bring to the body, I wanted to know, do we want to possibly extend the meeting? Or do we want to end on time and then have our Thursday meeting?
I propose we extend the meeting by 15 minutes.
So is that a motion? Okay, and I heard a second,
Who seconded it?
and that was Chair Hernandez.
Thank you.
Okay, can this be approved by unanimous consent? Is there anyone who dissents from extending the meeting by 15 minutes? Please raise your hand on Zoom. And Chair Sherman, I see your hand is already up. Okay, I see no other hands raised, so we will extend the meeting by 15 minutes. And we will go ahead and recognize Chair Sherman's question because it's having to do with review. So please go ahead, Chair Sherman.
You want me to come grab the mic?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No. Okay, thank you, Chair Butler-Bird. And just to be honest, I'm a bit scared to ask this question, but I think it's important, so I'm gonna ask it anyways. I know a lot of my students and several of my colleagues feel less safe on campus when police are present. I don't mean that as a critique on the hard work that many of you do, or the safety you do provide. But there's also, you know, good reason for many community members to feel less safe. And this has been an ongoing problem. I know y'all are aware of it. And so I'm just wondering if what our campus, what the police department might be doing to try to address the needs of those community members that feel less safe when we have this militarized presence on our campus that has really harmed them.
Thank you very much for that question, and quite frankly, thank you for the courage in asking it. I actually interact with, and I get that quite often from members of the community. And you know, this is not the first campus I've been on, and it's consistent across campuses. And I certainly understand it. There are cultural background reasons that can support that. There are personal experiences that can support that. So what I attempt to do in my role is certainly to embrace that experience that many of our community members feel, and then to provide education, information, and training to our officers to be aware of that and to be as sensitive to that as we can possibly be. As a matter of fact, I'm often, spouting off the 6 E's that I apologize for mentioning them today again to you. But the last E is empathy, and not because it's last, because it's that place in the 6 E's. And that is, they really constitute the values of our police department. And to have an empathetic approach, understanding that, culturally, there are some places that we show up in a uniform, whoever goes away may never ever come back. And and so once that is set in place, that's hard to overcome. Other cultures experience, quite frankly, just over policing. Every 5 minutes, a police car is driving down the street. It just does not leave a good taste in one's mouth. So, we provide as much education as we can to people once we hire them and they're on the job. What I do is I take every effort I can with the role that I play with the selection of the people that actually come and work here to ensure that, to the best of my ability, I've met with their psychologist. I had this conversation specifically about people that are fearful of police officers in uniform, and that we need to be able to hire people that have, number one, either an understanding for that and a capacity to understand that. So we're looking at it from the moment that we start to identify people in our recruiting, and we tell them this is a different environment and it requires a different mindset in policing. You're still potentially going to be challenged to do everything that you do in policing, but you have to have a different mindset. And then so with the recruitment, the hiring process, and then the training, and we have a robust and vigorous internal affairs and investigations process, because I will do my square best if anyone is not sensitive to that and they demonstrate that in any way to, kind of help them find another agency, because this is not the environment for that. So, I'm always open to any community suggestions. I mean, that's how we grow in the profession, and certainly here on campus. And but those are the efforts that we take. And I challenge you to talk with any of our police officers that you see about this, and they should be providing a similar response to that.
Thank you for that really genuine response.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And we also have, I think, Senator Quick has a question. Will Chief Murphy entertain further questions via email?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. And then we also have Senator Carter Curtis, and she's right over here.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for all you do. I wanted to kind of just ask about what you are doing. You mentioned the mental health piece. And so I was wondering what you may have in the works regarding communication around escalated situations regarding mental health, so that all faculty and staff feel safe.
Thank you so much for that question. We sit somewhat unique at San Diego State because we do have the behavioral health unit in the police department. We have a licensed clinician, actually two, that work with us in response to mental health calls when we receive them. It's referred to as PCAST. And, so we team up with them just really to make sure that the environment is physically safe for them to work in. And then once that happens, we kind of turn it over to our specialists with mental health. And we've had, a handful of really good successes in dealing with individuals with respect to that. All of our police officers have been through the PERT training, which is the response training for mental health. We also team up with the county's MCRT, the Mental Crisis Response Team, as an option for the community, if they so desire to, not even engage us or the campus resource, they can contact the county. And, and then, well, the perk really is just that initial recognition, because we may, as a police department, get a call, respond there, and then it's kind of, the onus is on us to be able to recognize that that's what we're dealing with, and our officers are already reaching out to our in-house behavioral health unit in those situations to bring in that level of expertise. So I feel like in a lot of ways, I think we're leading. We had a symposium over the summer where we had universities from around the country here really looking at the model that we have in dealing with mental health.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Senator Quick was hoping that she could squeeze her question in now instead of emailing. So please, Senator Quick, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, Chief Murphy. Thank you for taking my question. This is about crime notification and the emails and text messages that we receive when something is happening on campus. So apparently an assault took place in the Art South building last April, and faculty were not notified at the time that it occurred. And actually, there still hasn't been any formal notification. And so I'm just wondering what triggers one of those crime report emails to go out, and how can faculty be notified in a timely manner so that we can be on alert to protect ourselves and our students?
So thank you for that question. I oversee Clery compliance and can speak to that. I'm not entirely sure of the exact details, but I do think I know the case that you're talking about. And when we look at Clery compliance requirements in terms of campus-wide or community notifications, there are two of them. One is timely warning, and the other is an emergency notification. And they both have very strict criteria set by the federal government as to when we can send communication out for those qualifying incidents or crimes. The emergency notification is earthquake, there's a fire in the building, there's a gas main break. That's pretty clear. We would send a text message out. We have our SDSU alert system, which would send a text, a phone call, and an email, depending on how we set that up with that emergency notification for those types of emergencies. The other is the timely warning. That's under the Clery compliance umbrella. And there's three elements that have to be met. It has to be a Clery crime. Just think, generally speaking, a crime against a person. It has to be within Clery geography. The best way to think about that is on campus. And then we have to establish an ongoing threat. And an ongoing threat may or may not be in existence if we know the suspect, if the suspect has been identified, if the suspect has been arrested. And I think in the case that you're talking about, UPD ended up, did she drop? Oh, you're still, sorry, the screen moved. But I think in that case, the suspect was arrested. I review all of the cases that make the determination whether a timely notification goes out. There's a lot of nuances behind the scenes that's not necessarily relevant information for the public initially. But that's kind of the sequence of events and how we look at the cases on a case-by-case basis to see if those elements are met for a timely warning. We also have a community safety notification that comes from my office. So that would be directly from me, my name and title in the send line. It would not be a timely warning. We do have conversations about when it's appropriate to send that information out to alert the public about an incident that occurred that would not qualify for the Clery timely warning or the Clery emergency notification. I'm happy to talk to you offline on the details of the case that you're raising, just so we're having a productive conversation. But for everybody else, that's just generally how we look at those community notifications.
Well, thank you so much.